We are taking charge of every facet of our lives, and this is Take Charge with Sophie. My name is Sophia Kapuite. In our first episode, we talked about infertility and the misconceptions about infertility. In this episode, we'll be talking about the consequences of childlessness, especially in a patriarchal society. This book, Overcoming Infertility, What to Do When Childbirth Delays, is a book I actually authored based on experiences, my personal experience and my struggle with childbirth, and also interviews from medical people, men of God, as well as couples who have gone through the challenge of infertility and by God's grace have overcome. I hope you actually take time, enjoy the episode, and then actually resolve to do something very good with the information you are gathering. So I'll be taking from time to time, I'll look through the book and then pick some points and expand on it as we progress. And from the earlier episode, we mentioned that a lot of people believe that infertility is a woman's problem because women are the ones who carry pregnancy. We are biologically, we are the ones who are supposed to carry pregnancy and all that. So if it's not happening, the next person to point at you think you guess is the woman. Yes, it is. That would be okay for someone who is not so knowledgeable. But with the knowledge from the previous episode, I'm sure by now you know that it is a man and a woman that produce children. Anything that is wrong with any of their reproductive organs, it can actually affect childbirth. So and also in an African society, when children and women, young girls are growing up, you see them playing with baby dolls, singing lullabies to babies because they are already practicing how to be a mother. When they reach puberty and then adolescence and all those things, and then they start getting married, already the excitement is so geared up towards having children. So if it actually fails, then it becomes a problem. The interesting thing is that infertility has been a problem from ancient times. In the Bible times and all that, we hear of Hannah, we hear of Sarah, and all those people who have, and even Samson's mother, and even Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist, and the couple also struggle with childbirth, but God answered them. The interesting thing is that those children that parents struggle with, when they give birth to them, they become destiny children. They do great and mighty things. You see something in the Bible. You see John the Baptist in the Bible, and then Samuel, whose mother prayed for him, and the role he played in the Old Testament. These are all children of destiny. So the wait is actually worth it if eventually the child comes. But before that victory, a lot of things actually happen to couples. Like they become very, very worried. And then I will quickly have to add that infertility is no respecter of persons. They are very prominent people in society. In our contemporary times, we had Michelle Obama had her own share of infertility. She has to actually undergo some IVF before she was able. We also know of Gabriel Union, a movie actress who has also struggled with endometriosis and how that affected her childbirth. And even in your society, and even in your locality, in your family, and even your church, there are very noble couples that you know that have struggled with infertility. So you realize that infertility is no respecter of persons. Anybody at all can suffer it. So if you are fortunate enough not to actually struggle with infertility, do not think that you are a special breed, because people from all walks of life have battled with it at one point in time when they were actually growing up. So as we are talking about consequences of childlessness, what is childlessness? It's a state of being without a child for intentional or unintentional reasons. But for the purpose of this discussion, we are talking about unintentional reasons where the couple are very, very much ready to have children, but because of circumstances beyond their control, they are not able to have. But what does scientific research teach us about the statistics of childlessness? So with the statistics, I want to read something very few from my book. So according to World Health Organization, about 50 million couples worldwide are primarily infertile or childless. For most couples, having children is immensely important. Not being able to have children is a major life problem. So you realize that over 50 million of the world's population are struggling with childbirth. So those one or two that you know, don't see them as outcasts, don't see them as people who are doing all the wrong things. They are part of a bigger population. But the situation will change. Like the way you also have your sickness that one day you are praying for healing, you are taking your drugs, like the way that you are struggling with your poverty and you are thinking that one day God is going to come through for you. Like the way you are struggling to pass that exams and you are believing that one day your situation will change, their situation is also likely to change. And infertility comes with a lot of, it has a lot of effects on those who are going through it. A lot of people go through depression and reduced sex drive. You know, when people keep having, couples keep making love and then according to them, nothing comes out of it, especially when the love making is all centered about baby, 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 and the baby is not coming. It gets to a point where the couple will feel like, okay, there's no essence in having meeting my partner anymore. So the sex drive actually reduces drastically because they feel like, okay, even if I sleep with her, the menses will come and then the baby is not coming. So they will be depressed. They will have reduced sex drive along the way because of infertility. Some of the other challenges is less social support. You know, a lot of us don't support people. Instead of encouraging people, we rather talk behind their backs and make life very difficult for them, like people flaunting their children in front of couples who don't have. For me, for some reasons, I try as much as possible not to give testimonies on my childbirth because sometimes someone will say, does it mean that all the prayers that I have prayed, God has not heard me? Are you like a special breed or that kind of thing? But if I'm talking one on one with someone who is willing to understand, I can bring in some of the things I actually went through. And then any couples struggling with childbirth actually have an increased sentimental reactions to harmless comments. Sometimes when you make comments, people begin to feel like the comments are actually proverbs that are hitting at them because they don't have children and all that. So some jokes that are not supposed to create anxiety in them, they begin to feel anxious about it because they feel like um maybe you are actually hitting at them because they don't have children. Like you go for a party and the children are playing, you try to stop them and they are not stopping, and then someone says, so you don't understand. When you have children, you understand. Some of these comments are just people just make them out of the blue, but some people also take it very personal. So you have to be very cautious so you know people around you and what they are going through so that you do not actually splash your parenthood on their faces to remind them that they don't have. And most of the time, to Africans, we try to fix the devil in our problems, even if the devil is not there. You know, sometimes because of the movies we watch, that somebody is pounding somebody's movies or movie, or like somebody is confessing that he has chewed somebody's womb and all those things and all that. So anytime there's an issue of childlessness, everybody people begin to think that okay, it is a spiritual problem. Yes, me, I keep saying that human beings, we are spirit, soul, and body. So anything spiritual can affect you physically, anything physical can also affect you in a way. So sometimes people begin to attribute all manner of causes to whatever it is that is causing the delay. But let me ask, is childlessness a physical or spiritual problem? I think that childlessness is something that have so many causes, several causes. It may be physical, it may be spiritual, depending on the belief system of the person who is analyzing it. When childlessness is physical, the medical reasons are attributed to it. But when childlessness is spiritual, then it can be attributed to satanic powers from one's family line, from one's neighborhood, from one's colleagues, and all that are actually preventing that person from having children. So identifying the problem is very important, and it helps you to take the right steps in trying to actually fix it. So I've actually sampled the views of some clergymen who at some point have been able to counsel couples that have not had children. And a lot of them have said that as men of God, if people walk to them and they don't have children, first of all, the first thing they do is to pray with the couple. Pray because they believe that children are a gift from God and it's God who gives everyone. So they pray and thank God for the couples, and then pray destroying anything spiritually or physically, because God can solve physical problems. He can also solve spiritual problems. Anything that is holding them back from having their children, God Himself intervenes in it so that they will be able to actually have children. And a lot of the men of God I interviewed also believe that it's not wrong for humans to seek um, physical solutions to their challenges. So if you are a couple who are trying to have children and then there's a delay, the best thing to do as a Christian is that after committing it to God in prayer, the next thing you should do is for you to go and investigate medically to know exactly what is wrong. Once you know what the cause is, then you begin to actually start treating it. And I also interviewed some medical doctors about the understanding of childlessness. I want to read something brief about it. 5 gynecologists and fertility specialists were interviewed on what they thought the causes of delayed childbirth or childlessness would be. The response I've summarized below. They believe that childlessness is 90% of a medical issue and the remaining 10% is due to unknown. And the unknown can either be spiritual or something. Then the breakdown of the 90% is that 30% of the causes of infertility can be attributable to the man, another 30% can be attributable to the woman, and both the man and woman can account for the other 30%. So you understand that the scientific reasons attributable to infertility affects both man and woman. It is not a situation where it is just a man or it is just a woman's problem. So because this is something that is more of a from specialist point of view, I want to take them with a few. Say these fertility specialists advise couples to be committed to their desire for childbirth. They encourage couples to have sex regularly if they desire to have children, and also that will improve their chances of having children. And then they explain that some couples have sex, but they have it at the wrong time. So if you have sex around the time the woman is not ovulating, it doesn't matter the number of times you had it, the woman will not be able to conceive. So it is very important for couples to track and know the ovulation period of their wives. There are scientific ways of doing that. When you check the last month's menstrual period, there are calculations that can be done. There are also ovulation calculators that are on app Play Store and other app stores that you can get to track your fertility, to know when you are very fertile and when your fertility is reduced as well. And then they also believe that couples that believe that their cases are purely spiritual because they visited, some couples also believe that their issue is purely spiritual because they visited the State of Arts Hospital and have done several medical tests and everything showed that everything is well with them, but they are unable to, and all that. So this is where the unknown things come in. So the best thing to do as someone who is going through this is to commit both to God in prayer and also seek help as far as a solution is concerned pertaining the problem. The other consequences of childbirth is frustration. It's very frustrating if you are looking for one thing and you are not finding. You're writing one exam, you keep failing and all that. It's not like you're not doing the right thing, you're doing everything right, but it's not coming. Desperation is one of the things that comes in when people have delayed childbirth. They become so desperate, people end up sleeping with other men. Some women may end up going to sleep with another man. The man also may end up going to test their fertility outside, and then bringing all manner of problems to the home. And in some instances, people actually taking all manner of things that they are not supposed to drink, concoctions that may not be healthy for them because they want to, anything that people recommend, they just go for a ridicule. I mean, in the Bible, Penina was a rival to Hannah. He ridiculed her for not having children. You understand? She ridiculed the rival for not having children. So ridicule is not a thing of, it's not a new thing. It's something that has been in history. People get ridiculed because they are not having children, and sometimes it's very very disheartening. And then some of the thing is that doubts begin to set in. Bible says in Proverbs 13:12 that hope deferred makes the heart sick. So if you have done all the right things medically, you have prayed, and physically you are making love and nothing is happening, it becomes very, very depressing. So you begin to doubt. Sometimes it affects your ego as a person. I'm talking about it because I've been through it. And then vulnerability, the couples become very, very, very vulnerable. Any suggestion at all, some people just depending on their faith level, they just go in for whatever suggestion. Some people end up going to shrines, people end up going to sleep with, do all manner of rituals and all that, and you become very 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 vulnerable. So we need to be careful when we start mounting pressure on people. We don't know what we are pushing them into. Family and social stigma. If you go for family meetings and you don't have children, and you see people's children doing same, if you try correcting the child, it even becomes problematic. They begin to think that you are not child friendly, so you should be able to tolerate any bad behavior from any child because you don't have one. And if you, some may even end up telling you, don't correct my child, you don't understand. And then, like I mentioned earlier, people begin to test their fertilities outside. The man may want to test his fertility on another woman to see if it's actually fertile, and the woman to lay, depending on how morally strong they are. And then some people insert all manner of unhygienic herbal products in their, the birth canal for the women, and the men also take all manner of concussions and all that. Sometimes it even leads to divorce and all that. And a lot of people have been manipulated by spiritualists, herbalists, and self-acclaimed prophets just because of the pain they struggle through in trying to end their childlessness. I want to talk about herbal interventions in childbirth. The interesting thing is that because we are looking for solutions, even there are people who have never taken herbal medicines before, but you realize that your in-laws, people who you respect, begin to recommend to you all manner of herbal preparations that they think that can solve the problem. And if you don't take it aside, you are not ready to have a child. People will become very angry with you for not taking it. Sometimes some spouses go for the concussions for the other spouse. If you don't take it, it becomes a problem. But let's ask, most of the time, can we say that the herbal medicines are good or are not good? One thing I've learned about the herbal medicines is that sometimes the problem has been the dosage. And then also, if you don't test before going to see a herbalist for medication, what are you fixing? If you don't know whether is the eggs that are not releasing, or like ovulation is the problem, you don't know whether the uterus is the problem, you don't know whether it is a hormonal imbalance or something, and you are just going. So most of the time, herbal medicines, you just say that it's good for fertility, but what aspect of the causes is it tackling? Is it just tackling a generic something? Those are some of the doubts that some of us have when it comes to herbal medicines. But this is not to say that it is not effective, but if it is a targeted form of treatment, that okay, this treatment, maybe you've checked and maybe your hormones are not balanced, prolactin is high, and maybe the drug that the herbal concoction you are taking is supposed to bring it to normal levels so that the reproductive system can work, then that's fine. But if you are just taking in it because it is um it is a preparation that is helps with fertility, then I don't know exactly what you are treating. And sometimes these concoctions may not be prepared under hygienic conditions and may create problems. And too much consumption of higher dosage of some herbal preparations can affect your liver and then your kidneys. So let me quickly ask, so should herbal and medical treatment be combined in the management of infertility? It is not advisable to combine both treatment due to possible drug reactions. So drug reactions occur when one drug reduces the efficacy of the other and then by causing harm to the body. So if you are going medical, go medical. If you are done with a medical treatment, you want to try herbal, yes, but doing both at the same time may not be helpful. And sometimes some couples end up breaking up um, because they feel like if you can't give me children, it's the men who always pull that string, especially in a patriarchal society that we find ourselves as Africans. Uh, they end up breaking up and all that. We live in a patriarchal society, undoubtedly, as Africans, and this has an effect on how we perceive the issue of infertility. So I want to pick some points from the read some points and also expand some of the points from the book. So I'm picking from the first part, that's page 22. So in most parts of Africa, we live in a patriarchal society where men are deemed superior. So women were marginalized in the days of old, and the older generation successfully transferred this to the new generation. So when there's an issue of delayed childbirth, the old generations always think that the men are superheroes and there's no way a problem of infertility can emanate from them. So the next target is just that the woman is the one who is responsible for not producing children. So you see that the older generation, the men actually divorce their wives on account of infertility. But I'm sure that if scientific investigations could have been done, you see that the problem may not necessarily be the woman, it could be the man. But what's the thought of the new generation on infertility? There are varied thoughts of causes of delayed childbirth among the new generation. One school of thought believes that it is medical, it can be managed scientifically for results. They also believe that the cause of infertility is not limited only to women. This is what we should be running with. We know that it can be medical, and any of the problem can emanate from either the man or the woman. And still, depending on the upbringing of some people still believe that infertility is purely a woman's thing. So how should the cause of infertility be handled? Men and women should go through medical investigations together. It is always advisable that the man and the woman should go to the hospital together. They do the sperm count for the man and do all the other screening. And then the woman also do her pelvic scan to check if the ovaries, the uterus, and every other thing that is required for her reproduction is set. The woman could also do some hormonal check, both the man and they'll do some hormonal checks to be sure if the problem is just not hormonal. And then the couple, if the cause of the infertility is identified, the couple should comply strictly with the treatment regimen that have been given so that at the end of the day, the desired result will be achieved. And if a couple have to go and see a man of God or a spiritual head concerning infertility issues, it is always advisable that the couples go together. If one person goes, that is when they get vulnerable and they get abused sexually and all that. But if you go together, there's some form of shield and protection if the two people consult their spiritual person who is praying with them together. The same with the hospital, they go together, do the investigations together. And then how can people support couples that are struggling to have children? It is not, you do not ridicule them. Couples going through infertility are already hurting, and the least family and friends can do for them is to stay off their business. Neighbors, co-workers, church members, family members of people who are waiting to have children should not worsen their woes by their unguarded comments and ridicules. If you know that your comments will have an effect on them, keep quiet. You should also pray for them, encourage them, and then we hope and see that you know, they will one day actually receive their blessing of children so that they can also be happy, and then the whole society will be happy because we need more children to fill the earth. People are dying every day. We need to replace them. So let's pray that people who are praying and hoping for children, we show them empathy, we pray for them. We don't judge them by saying that it is this person who is responsible. And if couples also go through their medical screening and they know that this person, and the investigation shows that this is the person who is responsible, it is always advisable that you do not, one couple does not withdraw from the other. They have to support each other. This is our problem. We have to fight it together. That one success rate is very high. Thank you so much for making time to watch this episode. I really, really appreciate your time. I pray that this information that you have learned, you can share with other people and then learn how to empathize more with those who are struggling to have children, and then also stay off their business if you don't have anything meaningful to say to them. Thank you very much. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share, comment, and also press the notification button so that anytime we post some of these videos, you can have access to them and then use them. Thank you and God bless you. See you next time. Bye bye.